On April the 16th, the Sunday Telegraph did not reach the general public because of action taken by censorship authorities. On Monday, distribution of 4 Sydney and 2 interstate dailies was almost completely prevented. Papers affected were the Sydney Morning Herald, Daily Telegraph, the Sun and Daily Mirror in Sydney, and late editions of the Melbourne Herald and Adelaide News. In Sydney, about 2,000 university students, after a meeting at the Varsity, marched to the city carrying banners and slogans, most of which demanded a free press. Women students were as much in evidence as men. The demonstration was of a kind never previously witnessed in the streets of an Australian capital. The procession was apparently orderly, although 3 students were arrested. After 2 hours' detention at Central Police Station, they were released. In Martin Place, the students massed around the Victory Loan rostrum from which speakers addressed the crowd. Later, this meeting was dispersed by state police. Around Sydney evening newspaper offices, excitement ran high. Commonwealth peace officers were stationed at the delivery docks with orders to prevent the distribution of papers containing certain prohibited matter. Copies of papers were hurled from upper floors of the Sun building, and they were eagerly snatched up by members of the public. In these cases, it was undeniably a free press. Despite the peace officers, attempts were made to get newspapers to the public. In many cases, these attempts were successful, even if they did result in a scuffle or two. Several Daily Mirror cars left the docks fully loaded, and the papers were rushed to street sellers. This was one day at least on which they didn't have to call their wares. Crowds scrambled to buy. There's a newsboy underneath all that. For a long time, the public was rather bewildered, not knowing the facts. Rumour was rife. On Tuesday morning, the Sydney Morning Herald gave its subscribers both Monday and Tuesday's issues. These are copies of the Sydney dailies, the distribution of which was largely prevented by the action of censorship authorities. On Tuesday, all papers were published as usual.